Well, all right, you guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Lots of headlines to cover today, lots of developing stories. Trump doubling down on citizenship to the highest bidder, essentially selling the American birthright. Also, Russell Brand catches 20-year-old grape charges. You have to use the word grape because grapes, And Virginia Giuffre posted pictures of her on her deathbed after a bus accident. We'll get into my thoughts about that as well. And of course, a tariff update as the markets plunge. Now I want you to take a second to look at your screen, because there is nothing new under the sun, and this has all happened before. What you're looking at is a screenshot from iPetGoat 2, a 2012 animation. And in the eyes of this child, you see the words market plunge, which for some reason matches up exactly with the headlines yesterday and today. Markets plunging. They're literally using the same terminology from this animated film that came out in 2012. Now, of course, the markets have plunged since 2012. But what makes this particular scene specific to the time frame we're in right now is that the market plunge ticker tape appeared in the eyes of this boy who essentially has his egg cracked like an eggshell, with the yolk spread on his shoulders. The egg has cracked. What are you talking about, Casey? The price of eggs, the attack on the egg supply, the bird flu, Trump the chicken, Trumpty Dumpty, sat on a wall, had a great fall. It's all happening right now. And that's what makes this time different. Now, we'll get into the details of the tariffs and the market plunge. Here you see the top of the boy's head back here. His head is literally an egg. Now, if you think that's a stretch, understand there was an egg actually pictured in this scene just before this, filled with a fetus. And it was backlit. So no stretch necessary, right? Now, if you're new to the channel, you're just showing up. This is a solutions-based channel. We don't just complain about everything going on. So throughout today's show, you're going to hear suggestions and solutions as we try to imagine how God might run this world. And we imagine what his new kingdom will be like when he runs it the correct way. And we'll talk about the mistakes that man is making and how God would fix it, or how we think God would fix it, based on a morality and spiritually based system. Now, we know that man will not run America this way, or rarely will come up with solutions. It's typically always associated with some kind of greed. Even when they're giving us something that seems like it would work, it never works. So, despite that, we should never stop speaking about the truth about how things could be better, because that glorifies God, doesn't it? How God would run things. So we're not just doom and gloom. We also talk about solutions. Now, let's start with a huge mistake about what's going on with Trump. Literally, he is selling citizenship. Here it is right here. Now, this happened probably about a week or two ago. They announced this. But now, with $1 trillion in foreign investment, Trump is now saying he will sell you what he calls the gold card. Citizenship for sale. Now, I need to probably take a look at this gold card. Whoa, look at this. Now, I don't know what this is. We'll need to zoom in on this. But look over his right shoulder. What does that look like to you? Just from this image. Now, again, I haven't zoomed in on this in a high detail. Maybe we'll try to Google search an image of it. But spiritually, what do you see over his right shoulder? Spiritually, for those with eyes to see. take a good look. I'm going to go back into the chat. Now, if you're also new to this channel, we like to involve everyone that shows up to the chat in the discussion because it helps people see that one person just isn't here, you know, talking about all this and making things up. Like, we all see it. Now, there's a video. We're going to watch the video too, but what do you see over his right shoulder spiritually? Dr. Bass Ackwards says, an angel. I was thinking just the opposite of an angel. It looked to me like a demon over his right shoulder. Let's take another look. Now, we'll find a high resolution image, but look at this down here. When you look at it almost without the liberty there, you can almost see like horns and like a beard right there. And you can almost make out like a demonic presence, like the devil on his shoulder kind of thing, right? That's what I got from it spiritually anyway. And if any of you felt that as well, chime in the chat. Now, it's probably something else. Like you said, it's probably the Statue of Liberty, but we also know that SOL, Statue of Liberty, SOL, was intentionally called that because it's Sol Invictus, SOL Invictus, which of course is the false god who was born on Christmas. It's the false god. Now, when I saw him doubling down on this, you know, typically Trump will say things, but I thought, oh, maybe he'll back away from this. You can't sell citizenship. Now, let's watch this first and we'll have a discussion about this. This is insane. Let's back this up here.
5 million. 5 million.
All right, let's fix this here. So he says $5 million. Let's refresh the page so we'll play this through for you guys. Now, for most American citizens, they see being born in America as a gift, a kind of birthright, correct? Most Americans believe that the United States is the greatest country in the world, and that being born here is almost like a special privilege. Some people take it as far as to garner, you know, patriotic feelings about this and supernatural feelings and very deep spiritual feelings about all this. They feel like they were born here for a reason, to carry out a purpose, to lead the world. This is the sentiment of a good portion of Americans, that this was a birthright, a gift from God. And you'll see why I'm saying most Americans in a minute, because I don't share this sentiment anymore. I used to, but not anymore. And I'll explain to you why. And it has nothing to do with patriotism, because I'm very patriotic. But there is something that has happened over the last 50 years, and longer actually, since the founding of this country. And once you wake up to it, you can't unwake yourself. Now, again, most people's feeling of patriotism and pride comes from the fact that they believe they were born here for a reason, that we have it so much easier than the rest of the world, and that God must have done that on purpose. Let's watch this.
5 million. For $5 million, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. You know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Who's the second?
I don't know, but I'm the first buyer. It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks, probably. Pretty exciting, right?
You ready for some questions?
Anybody want to buy one?
So, the gold card. Let's read about this. President Trump on Thursday held up a Monopoly-esque gold card with his face printed on it that could allow foreigners to purchase a pathway to citizenship for millions of dollars. For $5 million, this could be yours, he said. And they talk about how all this went down. Now, for the people that feel and experience the sentiment that I just explained to you, imagine how outraged they should be. about a president who simply sells this away to the highest bidder from anywhere, from any country, pretty much in the world, who wasn't born here, who didn't, quote unquote, deserve it. So how are they okay with him doing this? You guys, this is the same outrage that people felt when illegal Hispanics and Mexicans came across the border to steal the American dream. This should be no different. It's the same thing. The only difference is one group has money and the other doesn't. The American dream isn't for sale. It isn't to be stolen. Now, I say most people because after you wake up and really understand what America is, you feel much differently about everything that I just said. You come to the realization that we stole this land, or at least did a horrible job of fairly sharing it with the people that were already here, the Native Americans, who they themselves weren't all that selfish about the land. Heck, many of them sold, thousands of acres because they didn't know, for dollars, a few dollars. Many, many stories of how they were ripped off. And you can make your argument about, did the natives attack the settlers and the pioneers? Of course, some tribes did that. Of course, that happened. But to go back and track back all of the skirmishes and instances and who fired the first arrow or who fired the first bullet, when it all boils down, you have to come to the realization that there are bad actors on both sides of any conflict. There are provocateurs. There are people in power who want the conflict so they can clear the land. All of these dynamics were in place as the settlers moved across the frontier. There were just as many bad white men as there were bad Native Americans. And to assume that every single pioneer was bad or every single Native American was bad would probably be a misstatement, correct? So what are we left with when we sift it all out? All we can really say is they were here before us at that point, right? That's about all we can come to the conclusion of. And at least since they were here first, they get first dibs. And then we work around that. But that absolutely did not happen, did it? And the rest is history. And then you wake up and you realize that America lies a lot. And we've done a lot of horrible things since then, haven't we? Yes, we enjoy our freedoms like no other country in the world. But many of those freedoms are an illusion. And then you wake up and you realize that the illusion of freedom that we've been given was only done so that we would keep fighting for it. Manipulated into more expansionism and interference into other countries' affairs with the use of violence and the threat of our illusion of freedoms going away if we don't do something over there first. Protecting the illusion of freedom. And then when you dig even deeper, you realize that the prince of the power of the air has to be the United States Air Force, an air power not seen since the beginning of man, that every other country is trembling in fear about. And once you get to that point in your understanding, you realize that America must be run by the devil himself. And it's only by the grace of God that people like you and me are allowed to keep calling that out. It's almost like we have the supernatural ability to do this because God wants people to know the truth. But at some point, the strong delusion will completely take hold, and even our voices will be silenced as God's grace moves away from allowing the truth to be told. Now, I can't say these things without proof, right? Because people say, Casey, we live in a free nation. What are you talking about? What are you on about? Well, not so much. It was on full display during COVID, wasn't it? When, by definition, medically protected, quote unquote, medically protected people force their will on the quote unquote unprotected who chose to be that way, who made a choice, a free choice to not want to be quote protected, right? And entire careers were destroyed again by people who claimed and truly believed that they were already protected. But they wanted to force you to be protected too, didn't they? Even the people that are tasked to protect us from foreign invaders, our United States military, had to give up their freedoms and their careers if they did not comply. Now, of course, Trump hired all those people back, but the damage was already done. They already lost their homes. They already got divorces from all the stress and drama, divided families. All that already happened. And that's not freedom. Freedom isn't thinking that you own your land that you worked for your whole life to pay off and then losing that house because you couldn't pay the exorbitant property taxes. Amounts that are comparable to what rent used to be for the year 30 years ago. So in other words, some people are paying $3,000 to $5,000 a year in property taxes, and literally that was a rent in that same property 30 years ago. That's not freedom. Or how about a national government identification system that is mandatory, that tracks and traces every American citizen, cross-references your facial print to the database so that every single camera in America, once Stargate artificial intelligence is plugged in, will track your face in real time. A system, a national identification system that hasn't occurred since Yahtzee, Germany. Or how about this? Is this freedom? Having to register everything that you do or own with the government? Your home, your business, your car, your gun, your boats. Most of which require licenses. What is a licensing system? Business license, gun, is that freedom? How is that freedom? Regulation is not freedom. True freedom is a little bit dangerous, isn't it? True freedom means you take your chances. Now, if someone wants to get some kind of certification and a licensing before you do business with them, maybe those people will get most of the business. But to require such licensing and regulation is not freedom. Let the market do what the market does. If licensing means that that person gets more business because people trust that, then so be it. Now, I've been to a lot of other countries, and it's pretty much not that different than America. There are some extremes, of course. But as most of you know, I lived in France for a couple years. France is almost exactly like America, minus the guns. And they're not really allowed to have guns there. That's pretty much the only difference, you guys. It's all the same systems. Licensing for everything, mortgages, utilities, where you can go, where you can't go. It's all pretty much the same. And how about this? How is legal tender no longer legal in America? How is legal tender no longer legal tender? Now, here's what most people don't realize. Cash represents true freedom and privacy. The ability to be able to conduct a personal private transaction between you and another private party without the government knowing about it. That is true freedom. And once that's gone, everything will be tracked digitally. So, as you can see, things have gotten less free over the past 50 years, haven't they? Incrementally, gradually. But it is the truth. When you look at the facts and the evidence. Now, some people could argue, well, to have true freedom, we have to make sure everyone's safe. So you're going to give up your freedom for safety? That's not freedom. And then you realize that all these changes, here's when you really wake up. I don't know what color pill they call all this that I'm talking about, But now people have called this, they give these pills different colors. Black pill, red pill, blue pill. This is Casey pill, okay? This is stuff we've been talking about for a decade. You finally wake up one day and you realize that the changes that I just told you about aren't just happening in America. They're happening all around the world, all at the same time. It's like there's a silent author behind it all. True globalism. Now, I could go on and on about all this, but I didn't want to make the whole show about this. But you need to know that the whole thing is essentially a giant lie. Why were we given the special luxury of having a little bit more freedom than the rest of the world? Why? Well, that's because we essentially are the lieutenant for the devil. America is the lieutenant for the devil. It's a top brass for the devil. So therefore, we are the world's police. People don't want to comply with the dollar. Oh, just go in and bomb them. Make up stories, false flags. Do what you got to do to bring everybody back under whatever America is doing. We've been tasked by the devil to be the police officers of the world. Everybody knows it. And so therefore, how do you get people to have skin in the game? How do you get people, Americans, to comply with this? Well, you give them, quote unquote, freedom. Now, I hope this is getting through to some people because this is the basis for the rest of our discussion today. Now, let's hop into some of this other stuff here. So, if you're a Trump supporter, now, we are a moral conservative channel. We are actually far right of Trump, if you want to know the truth. What he's doing is globalism. That's not a conservative value. Globalism is not conservative. You don't sell America's birthright to other countries just because they have money. Okay? And every Republican should be jumping up and down going, what the heck is going on here? So let's hop into some of these other stories. Now, I almost missed this story. A couple of you sent this to me on Facebook. And this apparently is Virginia Giuffre, of course, the victim of Epstein, or so we're told. I always have my questions about her. There were so many other quote unquote victims. And I should stop saying quote unquote. Let's just understand that everything's quote unquote, right? Because I don't believe half of this stuff. But anyway, there were so many other much younger victims, children even, that could have been the poster child for Epstein's crimes. And yet they chose Virginia Giuffre, who at the time of all this happening claimed, even admitted that she was 17 years old. Now, in some countries, this is a legal age of consent. Now, I'm not supporting that. I'm just telling you the truth, that they could have had a much more effective poster child for what Epstein did. They should have found some of the 12-year-old girls that he was trafficking at the time, and that would have made a much bigger impact and would have made many more changes. There would have been many more calls for arrest. Because to this point, there's like 2 people that got arrested for thousands of people that were in his black book. There should be hundreds of arrests at least. But apparently there's only 2. One of them is supposed to be dead. The other one, they won't even give us pictures of her in jail. Ghislaine Maxwell. And people are on the fence about even believing that Epstein's really dead. So all of a sudden, fast forward to 2025, and Virginia Giuffre is allegedly in the hospital. Here's the picture of her. She posted this on her own social media. And the reason why I almost missed this, because I thought it was a fake story. And you guys are like, it's not fake, Casey. And then finally it hits the headlines, and there's some bizarre story of her getting run off the road And this bus driver here says that she went to go turn without using a turn signal and slammed on the brakes and he rear-ended her. But then he walked up to the car and he said he didn't even see her in the car. But yet she says she was in the car. And then she says now she had to go to the hospital. And this is what she's saying she looked like at the hospital, and that she's in kidney failure, multiple organ failure, and that she has days to live. This is the story, you guys. This is why I didn't believe it. I'm like, what is this nonsense? But apparently she posted this on her own social media. Now, later, and I'm just paraphrasing all this to you. I'm not going to read this whole story. I'm paraphrasing all this. Later, she came forward and said, that was a mistake. That wasn't supposed to be posted on my social media. That was supposed to only go to a private group of friends. What a weird story, you guys. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I know some of you believe this story, others don't. But why would she say this wasn't supposed to be posted on my social media? And then you've got the bus driver guy just talking about how ridiculous her claims were, even though he didn't even see her in the car. This is just weird. Let me go back in here. To me, this seems like chaos magic. Like none of this is real. It's just to muddy the waters, to get you distracted off of the real questions we should be asking. Why aren't Trump's administration going after all the people in the black book? There should be an entire task force. And again, here's where we come up with solutions, not just arguing. There should be a task force, an executive order. It should be called the Epstein Black Book Executive Order to bring to justice all of the people who trafficked Russian models, Ukrainian models. They were all listed flying on the Lolita Express. And everybody should be looked into. And this should be a special case. I know there are statutes of limitations, but this should be a special case. Why? Because there were presidents and judges and senators involved. This is the very foundation of our country. And under these extreme circumstances, they should be able to go back beyond the statute of limitations and figure out what the heck was actually going on. This guy had cameras and voice recorders. But instead, we get the black version of Epstein. Diddy. And that's a big nothing sandwich too. Where are all those arrests? Instead, we just get daily drama of new people coming forward and on and on and on, and nothing gets done. So what do you guys think about that? And then we'll move on to some other topics. I'll read some of your comments here. Yes, Trump is in the black book, Travis, and he did fly on the Lolita Express, although technically there's no record of him actually flying to the island. Okay? That's the truth. And in fact, the day that he was named, that Trump was named as flying on the Lolita Express, the very next day is when Epstein got suicided. So you make sense of that. It's almost like Trump was mad that he got outed. He's like, okay, let's end this now. And boom, the very next day, after those logs were released with Trump's name on it, Epstein was dead. Now, there in some weird, bizarre twist of information, Epstein also flew on Trump's jet. There is one flight log of Epstein flying on Trump's jet. So these guys were jet swapping, weren't they? And we haven't even seen all the files yet. We've only seen some of the flight logs. There were probably many, many more times that they both flew on each other's planes. Now, of course, the Democrats were on the planes too. They're all through there. They're littered through the flight logs. We already know that. The point to this is both these people are complicit. That's the point that you need to understand. It's not just bad Democrats, good Republicans, bad Republicans, good Democrats. That's it. You got to wake up to this. It's essential. Otherwise, we just keep getting rope-a-doped. Now, what else is going on? Oh, I wanted to read your comments. What do you guys think about her all beat up like that? Do you think it's fake? Do you think it's real? What do you think is behind all this? JK says they're all corrupt and still And I still have, what does that say? I don't understand that. Because Trump's name is in the book. Yes. And in the flight log. Oh, let's see here. Can we trust those free grocery cards? No. Church going friends who still love T-Man. Yes. It's like they don't want to know all this. Or they go, oh, he must be a Democrat talking about all that stuff. He just doesn't like Trump. Just let Trump do what he's going to do. Or they say he's not perfect. Or he's a baby Christian. The excuses just keep rolling in. And the more evidence that comes forward, it's heartbreaking to me. Because something could actually be done to fix all this. So, Joey says he thinks it's fake. Wow, this is insane. All right, let's move on. Now, remember when I mentioned to you guys I was watching this series called The Agency. Here it is right here. It's got these people in it. Richard Gere's in it. This guy and this guy. This guy's from Westworld. And this lady. Well, in this series, I don't know if we did a full decode on it. Maybe a couple clips here and there I might have showed you. But essentially, the storyline of The Agency that we covered back in 2024 was about a spy. This guy right here gets involved with this lady. She's a diplomat. And it's like forbidden. They have to sneak around. It's not permitted for obvious reasons, right? You got trade secrets and all this stuff, and you're not supposed to be intermingling with countries we're not particularly friendly with, right? Well, guess what? You're going to laugh. It's now happening in real life. And this is how these people do this. They program people, right, to accept all this. So look at this. Here's the latest. This just broke a couple days ago. U.S. bans government personnel in China from romantic or sexual relations with Chinese citizens. So it's the same thing. It was some secret ban. And some people involved came forward. And they were like, this is not right. Because I guess it's typical for diplomats in other countries to get involved with local citizens. That's, I guess, a thing. And now it's been banned. Wow. So I'm not going to read this story, but just needless to say, this is how the predictive programming works. They depict it in a TV show, and then it happens in real life. Now, let's get into Russell, the Russell brand, I call him, because he's a brand, right? And apparently he's getting debranded as we speak, charged of grape from over 20 years ago. This is a pretty big story. And I call this guy a fake truther. He's got some tenets of truth, but he's leading a lot of Christians down the wrong path, edging on New Age, claiming to be a Christian, but then the next day doing very unchristian things. Now, but having said all that, how do you prove a rape from 20 years ago? Unless you have video evidence or a grape kit was done. I accidentally said the word, but we'll call it grape from now on. Unless a grape kit was done. Imagine this happening to you. A random person comes forward from your past with accusations that you did something with no proof, just your word against theirs. And everyone has to admit this guy's worth way more than he was 20 years ago. So it's almost like a really bad rain check. Right? I'm not trying to make light of any victims, but I almost feel like this is some kind of programming so that this can happen to anybody. It's a setup. It's a archetype that they're trying to set up, a construct, so that they can go after people, enemies of the state, and simply attach a grape charge on them, right? And so these guys do their duty, and they depict the archetype, they depict the construct so that it's widely known. And then when the construct starts to go after, it's kind of like the Matrix, you guys. When the construct gets the programming and starts to go after people, nobody will have sympathy for you. Now, most people in this position, they simply just pay out to avoid embarrassment, right? They don't want any bad press. They don't want this in the news for any longer than it has to be. So they'll just, pay out a few million. And this is what these victims are really after, I think, because they know they can't really prove it in court. So they go to civil court instead of criminal court. And then these guys pay out, I think, is the way all this works. Now, let's talk about how to fix this, because obviously it's not being fixed for a reason. We need to get women to try and come forward right away after these things happen. How do we do that? You got to get a grape kit, get the proof, unless you were hospitalized or drugged or obviously incapacitated, right? I feel like these things need to be reported within a week. And there needs to be a national message from the top down, even from the president, protecting women and helping them walk through the pathway to handle this situation correctly without being judged. There should be a specific checklist of things to do if this happens to you. And there needs to be a date set moving forward to where new laws are put in place to protect women. Because I'm not saying this doesn't happen. This happens all the time. Look what happened to the Diddy parties. They were drugging women. So, like I said, unless you were drugged, incapacitated, put in the hospital, or locked up beyond your without your will, then it should be reported within a week. And the things a woman needs to know. Now, it's just crazy that I'm the one telling you this, right? It's crazy because this is common sense stuff, but yet there is no national message about these things. But here's what you need to know. Do not take a shower, even though it's the first thing you're going to want to do to feel clean. Do not take a shower because you're erasing vital evidence. Report it right away. Why wouldn't you report it right away? Because reporting it right away will give you the best odds of proving that it actually happened. Take pictures of any signs of a scuffle. Like every woman, every young girl should be given this. This should be taught to you in school. There should be school classes on this stuff. Take pictures. Do not take a shower. Report it within a week. There should also be a message that you have the full support of your local law enforcement. There should be a female officer on duty 24/7 in every single police department in America. There should be a small, private back area that is woman friendly. It's quiet for women to come forward 24 hours a day. It should be a quiet setting, maybe light some candles, comfortable chairs, no windows, so there's privacy. The process should be trouble-free, and the area should be welcoming and inviting with no judgment. Now, why are you hearing this for the first time on a YouTube channel instead of our own government about how to handle this so that women have the confidence to come forward within a week? Because here's what I hear. Oh, well, it's the trauma's really bad. And a lot of people, they're afraid. They don't want to be judged. Or they're afraid that they're not going to be believed. Well, you're going to be believed a lot less if you wait 20 years. If you come in within a week, you get a grape kit, and there's evidence found that intimacy actually happened, and it's attached to the accused with DNA, then the trial can begin to determine if there was consent involved. And how do you determine consent? Well, a great way to determine consent is if after the person leaves the situation, if they continue talking to the other person who is accused like nothing happened and everything's fun and games and great, and in fact they're talking about how great of a time they had, obviously that would be consent. Case thrown out. You guys, this stuff is cut and dry. It's pretty cut and dry, but no one has developed a system to handle this. And I believe this was done on purpose. They want the chaos and confusion. They want to be able to ruin people's lives who didn't do anything maybe 20 years later. They want to always pull that card on someone. This isn't rocket science. Where are all the female advocates to come up with these kinds of systems? Why aren't our congressmen and presidents talking about these kinds of things? Why didn't Obama, when he was in office, he was supposed to be the first gay president, right? Why didn't he come forward and come up with some kind of system that I just described? Now, here's what I just described will do. It will create a system to where there can't be as many falsely accused people, obviously, right? And women will get justice because they will have the proof. So it's a double-edged sword. So true rape cases will be handled probably 99% of the time. You'll know exactly who did it because it'll be the DNA will be there. It will be fresh and everything else that I just said. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Because look, this is just an idea. I don't know if it would actually work, but it sounds like common sense, doesn't it? So let's go into the chat. Wow. It's almost like they want the battle of the sexes. You know, they want to reserve the right for someone to be able to ruin someone else's life. Or they want to continue to make women feel helpless and not supported when this happens to them. Now, here's what angers me. All these people that we are told are so smart running our country, yet we still have this ambiguous gray area, issues like rape in 2025 that could easily be solved with just a little bit of effort. Right? Now, let's hop off of that. Let's get into these tariffs. Tariff update. Now, I found this story, and they're talking now about superinflation. They don't call it that. Oh, it's just a little bit of pain we got to go through until everything balances out. Well, check this out. Here is what each of these items is going to cost you. Let's go down to this part of the story here. So get ready. Prices that will increase the most. Okay, if this isn't superinflation, I don't know what else to call it. Leather products, 18% going up. Clothing, up 16, almost 17%. Crops, 13%. So anything that you go and buy in the store is going to go up 13%. Metals, 12%. Wool, 11%. Rice, 10%. So bag of rice used to cost you maybe $3. It's now going to cost you, well, let's go with $4. $4. Now it's going to cost you $4.40. 10%. I think that's 10%. Electrical equipment, 10%. Textiles, 10%. Most of these are 10% all the way down to 1%, which is beef. Even beef and dairy products, natural gas are going to go up about 2%. Sugar's going up almost 3%. So here's what we can expect going forward. Now, the empire is striking back. China imposing its own 34% tariff on American goods coming into their country. Okay, so here's what's going on with that. I don't know what China, what we sell into China. I don't know what that is. But look at this. They use this market plunge, which takes us right back to the beginning of the show today. U.S. stock market plunged Friday. I don't think they've ever used that terminology, even in the last, dips in the stock market. Wow. Now, what else is going on? Another wall is being built. This time, around a 180 million degree fusion reactor. Now, there was an Illuminati card talking about the discovery of fusion. Remember that? We covered that. And the woman on that Illuminati card looked a lot like the woman who announced that they had discovered fusion. Well, now they're saying this thing is 180 million degrees and they need to build a wall around it. There's all these walls going up. You know what's funny? So these are the very same people that go on and on about global warming. But for some reason, they don't think a 180 million degree reactor is going to do anything. Wow. Let's read a little bit of this. The world may be one step closer to using fusion energy soon. At least if one team of researchers has anything to say in the matter. According to Interesting Engineering, U.S. Department of Energy awarded a grant of $2.3 million to a team of scientists at the University of Kentucky so they could work to develop materials strong enough to survive the inside of a fusion reactor. Considering the inside of the fusion reactor can reach temperatures of 180 million degrees Fahrenheit and beyond, this is quite a task. So they're talking about this wall they're going to have to build. They wait all the way to the end of the article to talk about the wall. Let's go down there. Okay, we're not going to waste any more time on this story. Ridiculous. All right, what else is going on, you guys? Well, some people feel like everything's getting better. Trump's going to stop all this green sustainability nonsense, right? This is what people think. Well, here are the facts. Here are the states ranked by their sustainability efforts. This came out just a couple days ago. Everything is still going according to plan. And look at all this. Environmental quality rank. Here's the map. Where's it? It's down here. Oh, come on. Oh, maybe I put it on a different page. I hate the browser sometimes. Okay, we'll just go back up here. They've got them listed out here. California, Vermont, New York, Maryland, all of the green states. They give them a total score of all the green states. It's still happening. Nothing's been reversed. This means these people have windmills and everything else, and they still have their sustainability efforts. Several states are moving toward requiring electric vehicles, with some aiming for 100% zero emission sales by 2035, while others set targets for 2030 or later. Here's the breakdown. There are still electric vehicle mandates. California, 35% of new car emissions by 2026, rising to 68% by 2030 and 100% electric cars by 2035. Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Washington. They've also adopted California's Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulations, which aim to phase out gas-powered car sales by 2035. So there, I just added 8 more states. Colorado requires 20% of new vehicles sold in the state to be electric by 2030, with a rule requiring 82% of vehicles on sale to be electric by 2032. So we're still headed to an electric car future. Nothing's changed. Very different picture than what we were told that Trump was going to do about the climate agenda, isn't it? Very different picture. Let's see if we can find this map. Oh, here's the map. Most environmentally friendly states. Look at all the blue. The blue are the most environmentally friendly. That's half of America, you guys. Half of America. Heck, as of today, the electric car rebate from the federal government, Trump's office, is still on the table. In other words, you get $7,500 against gas vehicles by buying an electric car. And Trump just bought electric Teslas for the White House, right after he evicted Biden's electric vehicle mandate in the very same White House. So, how did we become so ineffective at seeing the truth staring us right in the face? How is it that we keep getting lied to over and over again? Well, this is why. Stories like this. As you've all heard, there was basically a national protest against Trump Day. Remember? And it's all liberals, of course. And then you got Obama and Harris publicly rebuking Trump's second term actions. This is how they keep us in the right-left paradigm. They bring forward the left when people are starting to wake up to the right, and vice versa. He plays his role. He pretends to oppose Trump. And all that does is strengthen Trump's base because they're in fear, because they don't want the world that the Democrats created. You see how this works now? And until you truly understand that this is a two-sided agenda and they just keep passing the football back and forth, you'll get fooled every time. Now, we got a very full week of shows. Strap on your seatbelts. Things are developing as we speak. Tomorrow, I don't want to give it away, but tomorrow we are going to look at an artificial intelligence body snatcher. They're literally replacing influencers now. And I'll be honest with you, I could not tell the difference in the video that I'm going to show you tomorrow. Literally, a company is selling an AI influencer. You get to choose your avatar, and the avatar is real. It's not real. It looks human. You can't tell the difference. So now you don't even know if your favorite channel that you follow is a real person. That will be tomorrow. And then after that, on Tuesday, I just screened a movie about a 3D printed human being. It's called Mickey 17. And for all intents and purposes, the 3D printed human is treated like a robot. Again, that was a concept we just talked about several weeks ago. I had not seen the movie, but everything we said a couple weeks ago appears in the movie. Remember we were talking about resurrected loved ones through AI? Well, that's essentially what happens in the plot of this movie called Mickey 17. Now, in our scenario, we talked about 3D printed skin that you could put over a robot, like one of Elon Musk's Optimus Prime robots. And then you could download all the data from your loved one, their voice, their mannerisms, their images, and they would walk and talk and act like your loved one. And we called that a resurrection. Well, that's exactly what happens in the plot of this movie. So I can't wait to decode that for you guys on Tuesday. So that's pretty much it, you guys. That's everything I had to get all caught up. YouTube's playing games again. Something happened yesterday, or Sunday's video. I'm sorry, we're at Sunday now. Friday's video is tanked. It's in the toilet. And I know that most of you watch most of the show, so I don't know what happened on Friday's video, why only 5,000 you watched the video. But if you haven't already, take the time today to get caught up and watch Friday's video. It's a very important video. And then we'll get back on track here. Sometimes YouTube will come through and just unsubscribe mass amounts of people. And usually it's the people that are watching the daily shows. So if you don't check, they will, you'll just lose touch with the channel. All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Let's hang out for a little bit. All right. Whoa. I was trying to zoom you guys up here. Good morning. Yep, Joey body snatchers replacing us. Okay. Yeah, and what they'll do is they'll basically say that all of your data, they'll say it's your consciousness. They'll say there's no difference. They'll say it's just like you. It is you, is what they'll start to say, right? And this is how the enemy will start to attack the flesh. No flesh left. In the end, it will all just be computer algorithms. There won't be any real souls left. Unless God cut those days short. Yes, Jimmy, 17 is Q. We're going to cover all that tomorrow. You guys, let me give you a little bit of the plot of this. Let me give you a little teaser here. Okay, so Mickey 17. Ready? I'm just going to give you a little teaser about this decode that we're going to do on Tuesday. Here it is right here. It was a very difficult film to watch because it was so lame, but it has some stars in it. Literally, the name of this space expedition to another planet is called Nephilim, is those with eyes to see can see, right? It's called Nephilim. They call it Niflheim, but it's Nephilim. And that's all you need to know. And at this point, you'll understand the rest of it when I break it all down. It's so creepy. So creepy. They're literally telling people the truth now. Okay, news about bodyoids this week. It says, Love Taylor. Oh, how are we with the tornadoes? Yeah, I'll give you an update. No tornadoes, lots of rain and flash floods in my area. I'm on the high ground, so I'm on like a ridge almost. So, but still, you know, I'm seeing a lot of erosion. There's a lot of erosion, a lot of wind. Most of my the property's just pretty much drenched. But you know, I'm fine. We need to pray for the people who are not on the high ground, you know, and near a creek or something. You know, it's always great to have a water source on your property, but if it's too close to your house, that could flood, you know, so that's not always a good thing. But thank you for all the prayers. You guys are amazing. Flooding in Ohio. Now I know downstream, I think the Buffalo River, White River downstream, it's drenched. There's a lot of water coming down there, a lot of people flooding out, but that's down the hill a ways. So, all right. Okay. Hasn't there always been fees and costs associated with citizenship here? Yes. I believe so. I believe that there are. Okay. Yes, pray for everyone. Some of you missed the live stream on Friday. Oh, says it wasn't available. Well, now it's posted on the front of the channel. Anytime they do that, they mess with the videos. I'll feature it on the channel, but it's there. It was a live show. It's there. You got to click on the live tab. How's Max doing? Max is doing great. He's back in California. He's been back there for a couple months now. He's working with his sister. He's making like $22 an hour. And I'm really proud of him and happy that he was able to get back on the horse, so to speak. So, thanks for asking about him. Dale says Odyssey. Yeah, something happened with Odyssey. Essentially, YouTube banned Odyssey from auto uploading videos from YouTube. Used to be an automatic service. As YouTube is now starving out some of these alternative media platforms, alternative social media platforms. They did the same thing with Rumble. You know, there was a time where you could mirror all your videos from YouTube onto Rumble effortlessly, click of a button. And now they cut that service off with Rumble, because I was going to go on Rumble, but without that service, it's not worth it for me. It takes up too much extra time, and I'm already working on this channel pretty much 40 to 60 hours a week. I just didn't want to take any more time. So YouTube did the same thing with Odyssey. They basically banned access from Odyssey being able to auto upload the videos back on Odyssey. Now, the good news is that I basically took away most of the ads, or a lot of them. I realized that my channel did have too many ads on it. So I can go in manually and remove most of the ads. So in an hour show, you might have 5 or 6 ads. Okay. And that's the only way really, other than the monthly support, that I support myself. So you can skip the ads. That's fine. But Odyssey, the whole purpose of Odyssey was it was completely ad free. So if you didn't even want to watch the ads, because look, truth should be free, right? Then you had the option to go to Odyssey and watch the video straight through without any ads. So now that's gone. So they're tightening the rope here. You know, there's a lot of censorship still happening. relevance is now being affected. You guys, there are huge channels with millions. And it's not just in our genre, you guys. It's not just in truth. There are channels with 2 million subscribers. And sometimes I'll watch their live shows just to kind of hop out of the truth into other things, fishing, things like this. And I realize that all these channels are going through this. Channels with many, many more subscribers than we do. Their live shows only have 500 or 600 people, like the same amount that we do, or less. And yet they have 2 million subscribers. So why isn't YouTube sending out notifications for people to subscribe to their channel? Is the question, right? So it doesn't seem to matter how many subscribers you have anymore. Now it's all about, is YouTube, doing their job and sending out notifications to the people that subscribe to your channel. So, I can't even really complain anymore because this is happening all across the board. It's happening to fishing channels. It's happening, to black pill channels. All these channels are suffering because YouTube, they want to be able to tell you who they want to watch your channel. Despite, the fact you've earned viewership by having people subscribe to your channel. So that's kind of the new social media. Basically, anyone can go viral. It doesn't even matter how many subscribers you have now, if they want you to go viral, right? So that's just a behind the scenes discussion about what's really going on in social media these days, if you're interested. All right, you guys, I'm going to pop off of here. I love each and every one of you. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. You can see the scheduled live shows. I already scheduled them for tomorrow and Tuesday. If you want to take a look at those and set your reminders for those. And I will see you guys tomorrow, bright and early. Much love. Take care, everybody.